Hi, Living Guardians, Unseen Inquisitor here. With Final Shapes Raid launching so soon after the launch of the expansion, I want to go ahead and do some initial planning and thought raid prep video stuff now because I don't know if I'm going to have the time to before the raid actually drops. So here we are in the second video, like I mentioned in the campaign video. So I encourage you to pull up a chair, grab a drink if you want it, hang out, and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And for the two of you that might click on this video, I really hope you'll stick through, critique what I'm doing, and more importantly, what is your initial plan and thoughts for getting involved in contest mode raiding? If you are, share it all. So the first thing I will say is that I still feel like, and I probably will always feel this way, and I know a lot of people feel similarly, the launch of the raid so soon after the expansion definitely feels like a mistake. And it's not just personal opinion. I mean, it is completely 100% personal opinion, but let's be honest, it definitely feels like a mistake. Especially considering they were doing really well in the past with things launching in terms of raids. Like, really well. Whether or not you like Root of Nightmares is not the point. The point is that the build-up to get it coming out was a good amount of time. It didn't make you feel too pushed to get things done ASAP. It didn't make you feel stressed out for trying to be powered up enough or anything like that. You were able to get raid ready as long as you were, paying attention more or less, right? So, that went really well. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury here because we only have a few days in between launch of the expansion and launch of the raid. And whether or not it's true, this definitely goes off the feeling of a disconnect between Bungie and their player base. Let's be honest, the bulk of fire teams doing day one raiding are not doing it with the intent of being world's first. There's a small selection of fire teams really gunning for world's first in any real way, shape, or form. Those teams are going to be raid ready regardless. The bulk of the teams are people doing it because they enjoy raiding, they enjoy the challenge, they enjoy the experience, and that's how it goes for me. I like the idea of a contest mode opening day, opening weekend raid because it's an extra challenge. It's something you don't get to experience in the game because even with the raid staying there, contest mode is just something extra, which is cool, that is a rarity. And I know myself, and plenty of people included, just can't drop life for a week to prep like that. So, or not even a week, for those days of time just to prep and be ready and then knock out a raid. Root of Nightmares, I don't remember the metrics, but I do recall it being a pretty high attempt count in terms of unique fire team members and unique fire teams going into the raid and attempting it. And therefore there was a good number of clears. And I will not be surprised at all come this raid that the metrics show that the total number of unique fire teams is below Root of Nightmares. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's by a decent number, which also would include the completions as well, depending upon the difficulty of the raid. I have a feeling it's going to be more of a difficult thing than Root of Nightmares. But anyways, I feel like that's an unfortunate circumstance really, because anybody who enjoys raiding would tell any player of Destiny who hasn't raided yet, you gotta try a raid out just to try it. And they'll also tell people, if you can and you enjoy a challenge and experience, contest mode is the way to go. So to have the bulk of the people who are going to be attempting it potentially have a smaller than average from the last new raid situation of fire team engagement is unfortunate. But anyways, I could go on and on. The name of the game in terms of raid prep is going to be power. Right? So that's why I'm tackling Legend Campaign, and I go over that in the campaign video. That's going to get you to 1960 power, completing the Legend Campaign, and the goal is to complete that and whatever else is needed to be able to enter the raid. Now, while only the fire team leader needs to do that, they did say that there will be spoilers if you don't. So I definitely want to do that just mostly to avoid the spoilers and to be powerful enough, or try to get as powerful as I can be. Once I'm done focusing on the Legend campaign, then I can actually open up my eyes to the rest of Destiny, right? Because until that's done, I am just hardwired focused on knocking out the Legend campaign. I'm not going to veer off that course. I'm going to do whatever is required to get to the next mission. And I'm not going to go do a Vanguard Ops or Gambit or anything like that. I'm just going to focus on the Legend campaign. But that's because I want to knock it out without having to skip things and, in terms of content or whatever, cinematics and the like, so that once it's done, I can go ahead and look at the other stuff in the efforts of getting more drops and the like. So that's the goal. With that, then I'll be going out and doing whatever gives me power through wars or even more exotic engrams for Raoul and everything. That's all going to be well and good. On top of that, the name of the game is going to be establishing your raid toolbox. Now, a raid toolbox starts off large and is definitely going to get more streamlined once the raid has been out. But because this is a brand new raid and we don't know exactly what we're going to need, our toolbox is going to be as full as possible that we're able to do. The trick is filling it up because we want things to be powered up for it. We don't want a 1900 power gun in this contest mode raid. We want it to be as close to our power level as possible. So this means getting the drops that we're going to infuse into other things, which, if we get drops that are good to keep, that might be a pain. But we're also looking to get drops for our armor to build up our power as well. So basically we're looking to get gear to drop for us, shower and loot as best we can and doing things. Now, for that, there's so much to consider. Is it going to be an arc-heavy environment? Risk Runner could be helpful for that. Are we going to be able to hit a crit spot heavily? If so, maybe building up Sleeper or building up Linear Fusion or a Sniper or whatever could be the way to go. Whisper and things like that nature. What about Ad Clear? Right? What about Workforce Weaponry, Legends, and Exotic? What about things to help debuff the enemy? Tractor Cannon. Even Divinity, even though it's being touched and tweaked, is still a worthwhile thing to consider. As a Warlock going into this, if I build up Divinity for the fire team just in case, I should also build up Cenotaph Mask. So there's that. I have Outbreak perfected with Rewind rounds. Definitely want to have that built up as a fallback option. What about, Forerunner for Tormentors? What about Thunderlord, because it's not bad as a general purpose thing, right? There's a lot to consider, and we don't know what could potentially raise its head as new hotness for this raid, right? When I did Contest Mode Root of Nightmares, the idea wasn't to go in with Thunderlord for clearing out bosses. That quickly showcased itself to be a very good strategy in that raid, however. So, there we go. We don't know what's going to potentially raise its head like that in this raid. We also don't know what we're facing. What we're facing can also help determine what we use. There's going to be great standbys, such as Polaris Lance, to have, built up. You're going to want potentially Conditional Finality. It's also a very good gun. We're going to want our Seasonal Artifact, or whatever they're calling the artifact now. We're going to want that built up, right, for passives. At the very least, for the champion stunning, and then the other stuff is gravy. So there's a lot to consider. As far as builds and stuff, they're going to be important, don't get me wrong. But as long as you have a build that can contend, or at least host a certain subclass setup, you're going to be fine. That's why I'm going to utilize Mantle of Battle Harmony in here as well initially. Because sure, my Dawn Chorus Daybreak build is a lot of fun to use and very powerful. And I can have that set up. This Mantle of Battle Harmony build is going to be able to play with a whole bunch of different subclasses. All of them, really, including Prismatic. Prismatic's the other wild card in the situation, right? All the reports indicate that Prismatic is pretty nasty. Which means part of prepping could be getting stuff unlocked for Prismatic, as much stuff as you can, so you can make some nastiness, right? There's that. So there's a lot of what ifs. And as far as what I'm going to do in terms of getting raid ready is complete the legend campaign, build up that artifact as best I can, and then start infusing as many different weapons up as possible. As I kind of mentioned in the campaign video, and I'll mention it again here, if you haven't done this yet, I definitely recommend getting yourself a set of legendary armor. It doesn't matter what different pieces they come from. Build your own set, because you got the ornaments to make use of. But build your own set of legendary armor. That's going to be the only armor you use for all of your builds. That way, when you save loadouts, they're all saved with the same legendary armor pieces, and the only thing different are designs. That means in the steps to infuse my armor and make myself more powerful, I'm going to have a lot of ground covered. Because depending upon what piece is an exotic for different builds, yeah, I'll have to sub out armor, but the bulk of the armor is still going to be powered up like it was. It's not like I'm subbing into something that is at base power, right? Definitely want to knock that out for yourself. That's going to help you as well, especially considering once you get your kind of go-to builds, you're really looking more so about swinging different weapons around and seeing what's going to work the best. As for the subclass, if I'm not going prismatic, I'm probably going to be solar with Well of Radiance, unless Dawnblade works out to be really good in whatever encounter. It all depends on the encounter. If we're always mobile and not really able to stand in one place for a long enough period of time, Well of Radiance won't be that popular for that particular encounter. But even in its tuned down state, having a big area to stand in for the full fire team to have some damage resistance, good healing, and weapon damage buff is going to be a very, very good thing to have, regardless, right? So if that can be useful, then that's what's going to be used. On top of that, there's of course the healing grenade to help not die, and a healing rift, which is why I foresee myself still running a Well of Radiance build into the raid. Unless, of course, Prismatic is just not that good, which is a very real plausibility. But then that comes with how do you unlock stuff for Prismatic in terms of to make the build and whatever else. In any situation or in any case, given the sheer lack of time, the biggest hang up is going to be what to infuse weapon-wise. For me, I need to match Super with Mantle of Battle Harmony, so I'm really going to focus on solar weapons to do that as workhorse weapons, because I don't foresee going off of solar necessarily, even if I don't need Well of Radiance, because of that healing grenade. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Voidwalker at heart, and Devour is fantastic, but there's a difference between getting fully healed on a kill and then just having a countdown time of restoration healing me all the while in between killing stuff, right? If there's a target-rich environment and the Dread aren't ridiculously hard to kill in the raid and whatever else isn't ridiculously hard to kill, Void can still be useful. But I also feel a healing grenade is not just for myself, but also for my team, right? So I can throw it somewhere if I see somebody who's really getting baked before they die, and they can hopefully survive. So there's that. In any case, I can't really say what weapons are going to be super useful. I do know that I'll be making use of whatever element I need as a workhorse weapon and as a power weapon. So in that regard, my kinetic slot's probably going to be a fusion rifle or a shotgunner or even a sniper or mountaintop. So with all that said, that's all I got for you on this one. What are you doing the raid prep if you're trying to do the contest mode raid? What class are you bringing in, and what build do you want to bring in? Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you stuck around. If you made it to the very end of this video, consider commenting the word contest by itself so I know you made it to the very end of this video. And until next time, Guardians, stay frosty.